You know, April was such a poor month for my reading. I like to think I've made up for it in spades in May. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'll be wrapping up what I thought was a pretty awesome May, where I read heaps and participated in Horror Mayhem for the third time, which I absolutely had a blast with. And the best thing about May is that all my stats were up. I mean, everything was up since April, which is a really good indication that I'm back full time, loving what I'm doing with producing content, and you know, my reading appetite is voracious, and I'm having a great time at the moment. Now let's start how I always like to, with a monthly wrap up with some basic statistics. So the books I read, 7 books read in May, which was 4 more than I did in April. April was a shocking month, which I won't revisit, but I only read 3 books in April, 7 in May, so it's an increase by 4, which I'm over the moon with, and gives me a really good indication of how I'm feeling with my reading at the moment. Pages read was 3,109, which was 1,427 pages up from April, which in my calculations made a 45% increase, which I'm absolutely over the moon about. Time spent reading, I didn't really go much into that. Average pages per day is 96.9, which isn't far below my 100-page average benchmark that I've set for myself. And I think June will see me lifting that to over 100 pages per day, because I do have some serious reading to get through before the second half of the month, with some certain plans I've got for June, which I'll run through in a couple of moments, which I'll share with you. Looking forward to that. Now, the ratings I gave my books, there were 5 4-star ratings, there was 1 5-star rating. I wonder if you can guess which book that was. And there was 1 4.5-star rating. So obviously what that means to you and me is I read really good books for the month, and especially with Horror Mayhem I picked out a couple of pearlers as well, which I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of. Videos uploaded on the channel, there were 14 videos uploaded in May. That was double what I produced in April with only 7 videos. So again, another indicator of how productive and creative I'm feeling at the moment, where I'm operating at full capacity, and it is a great feeling. Best performing video was my epic book haul, of course, which isn't a real surprise there, because everyone loves a good book haul, right? Including me. There were 93 views for that one, which was fine. I'm happy with that. The poorest performer was part 5 of my Words of Radiance reading vlog, and that was okay. I mean, it was a really good way to review Words of Radiance, in my opinion, because it breaks it down into small bite-sized pieces where you don't have to think at the end of the book on everything that happened and try to formulate it all in one single review. I like breaking it up into pieces and into these 5 separate parts of the book, which worked really well, I thought, and it was a blast doing that vlog. So what did I read? Obviously I read Words of Radiance by Mr. Brandon Sanderson. I read Wake in Fright by Kenneth Cook, an Australian author, which was quite a psychological mindfuck, really. It was a very interesting read, something I hadn't read since high school when we were made to read it. I didn't remember much about it, but reading it as an adult, I was surprised that I enjoyed it so much, because the writing quality was superb and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I also read Winter Children and Other Chilling Tales by Angela Slatter, which was a great little collection there. I really enjoyed that one. And the highlights for the month for Horror Mayhem were reading the novelizations of Poltergeist and Poltergeist 2: The Other Side. I had an absolute ball with those, because it gave me greater insight into scenes that weren't included in the movie. And the best thing was that you couldn't get into characters' heads in the movie. In a book, you can, so you know what Diane's feeling, or Steve or Carol Ann are going through, which was a real eye-opener for me, because there were parts of the books that I had no idea about previously, only by watching the movies. I also read You Like It Darker by Mr. Stephen King, and I reviewed that separately on the channel. If you haven't checked that out, please do. I do go into a bit of detail about what I liked about the stories that stood out for me and made a lasting impact. It was a fantastic collection, and I hailed it as being his best collection in at least 20 years. It was superb and I absolutely enjoyed it. And the final week of Horror Mayhem, I didn't have a lot of time for my reading, so I was glad to actually smash that out as something which was really awesome. And right on the end of the month, I wanted to squeeze in Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson, which immediately follows on from Words of Radiance, and it was a great little read as well. I will be reviewing that one separately on the channel in the coming week, so watch out for that one because there are some thoughts I do have about it. Even though it was a very short read, I think there were situations and reveals in there that are pivotal to the Stormlight Archive moving forward, which will prepare me very well for Oathbringer when that happens, and that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Okay, so this brings us to the book of the month, and if you've been following the channel for a little while now, there is going to be no surprise with this selection, and there can only be one winner, and the winner by country mile is none other than Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. It is my favourite book of 2024 so far, for all sorts of reasons which I've gone through in previous videos, which you can check out on the channel, but nothing comes close. Okay, Way of Kings was brilliant. Words of Radiance just is next level. Now, will Oathbringer knock it off its perch for my favourite book of 2024 so far? I don't know. That remains to be seen, but it will remain to be seen sooner rather than later, which I'll go through why that's the case very shortly. But I think the highlight for the month for me was participating in Horror Mayhem with all the other awesome co-hosts. It was a fantastic project originally created by the Bookish Bryants, and unfortunately they weren't able to take part this month, but all our thoughts were with them, and I like to think that some awesome content was produced as a result. It was a great event, it was a successful event, and the bingo cord scoring system that was thrown in this year was an absolute highlight, and it was good to try and chase those extra scores on the bingo scorecard. It was just fantastic. So I am looking forward to Horror Mayhem next year. It'll be the 4th year that I would have participated in it, and it's just fantastic, and can't wait to see what the prompts are for next year. But it is a great collaborative project, and you get to compare notes with other content creators and mingle a little bit. It's a nice little community when the project is on the go. So there you go. Now, let me talk about some changes to my reading plans for June. Now, the most recent video I put out about all my reading possibilities for June, I did mention that I would be reading things like The Alloy of Law, which I'm still going to be reading. I was going to read Private Monaco by James Patterson and Adam Hamdy. I was going to read Act of Defiance by Andrews and Wilson, with the next entry in the Jack Ryan universe. I was going to read The Inmate by Frida McFadden, The Corsican Shadow by Dirk Kussler, and Five Broken Blades, which is a new fantasy book that I'm keen to get into. But having spoken with John over at Talking Story in our live stream about Words of Radiance, I got excited, because John gets excited. His excitement is contagious. His enthusiasm for the Stormlight Archive and the Cosmere in general is very it's very catching, and the way we were talking about Words of Radiance, it just made me think, you know, I can't wait to get to Oathbringer. What do I have to do to get to read Oathbringer? And he is going to be reading it in the last half of June. And I thought, oh, geez, I've got all these books that I want to read because they've just been sitting there waiting to be read. And I procrastinated for about a day, just weighing up the decisions. Do I read books that have been sitting there for a little while, or do I just go for it and aim to read Oathbringer with John? And I woke up and I decided, nah, you know, fuck all my plans. I'm going to do this. What I need to do is finish books 1 to 3 of Mistborn Era 2 to prepare me for Oathbringer, which is based on what the ideal reading order is. So I think if I stick to my 100 words per day, I'm going to be able to read books 1, 2 and 3 of Mistborn Era 2 in about 2 weeks, which is a big ask, but I am going to do it. And John did mention that would be crazy if I get up to Oathbringer the same time as he does, and I thought to myself, I'm just crazy enough to do it as well. So at the time of filming this, I have started Alloy of Law, which I'm enjoying the hell out of, and I'll be talking about that on the channel separately with a spoiler-free review in the coming week. And then, of course, it'll be on to books 2 and 3 back to back. So I will essentially be binging Mistborn Era 2, getting me ready for Oathbringer to read with John in the second half of June. Now, if I do really well and I have 2 or 3 days spare before John starts, I'm going to smash Tress of the Emerald Sea just to complete my Cosmere knowledge a little bit more. And I will be doing a separate video in the coming week also on my Cosmere journey so far, because I want to share my thoughts on where I'm at the moment. I am tracking very well to be on time for getting ready for the release of Stormlight Book 5 in December, and I'm gonna be there. And as I've said on the channel repeatedly, I'm going to be part of that collective excitement and anticipation of the book's release. I will be reading it the same time as everyone else. I might start it after the weekend it's released, because I have pre-ordered the book, but it should get here on the Monday after its initial release, which isn't too bad. And BookTube is going to be such a fantastic place to be in, because you're going to be watching people's reactions, you're going to be watching their spoiler-free reviews and their thoughts and impressions. That'll just get you more excited if you haven't finished it yet. But a lot of people on BookTube are going to be reading this book, and the excitement is there already, particularly with the Dragonsteel con that is in Utah this year that Brandon Sanderson is throwing, which it's all shaping up to sound like the best show of the year, and I'm envious to all of those that are going, because it would be an absolute life-changing experience, especially to meet Brandon Sanderson himself. But there you go, guys. I have got my work cut out for me. I am going to do it, and I'm going to smash it and get ready to read Oathbringer with John. I cannot wait, and I want to find out more about Dalinar's backstory and what happens next, because the series is so addictive and I can't be away from it for too long. The other books I've got that I wanted to read in June originally, they're not going to go anywhere. I'll get to them, and maybe July will be all about just catching up on some much needed reading of books I've purchased recently as well. So there you go, guys. That is it for my wrap up for June. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will produce the best content I can. I'm nearly at 500 subscribers actually, so I think I'm at about 481 or 482. So please subscribe to help me get over the 500 subscriber mark, because then it means I can do a 500 subscriber live stream celebration where I can do a big Q&A and just invite certain guests and things like that. I'll make up a StreamYard link, I'll email it off to several booktubers and see if they'll join the party, but I need to get there first. I can't do a live stream Q&A celebration until I get to 500, so if you can help me out, that would be great. But as always, leave any feedback in the comments below, and until the next video, guys, happy reading.